Ethics of a non-humanities future. Why worry about future generations that are other species? Hello class, this is Neff, sharing my idea for my paper. Playing upon the theme and title of this special topics course, Ethics in Humanities Future, my paper idea is to be titled The Ethics of a Non-Humanities Future. This is in part due to the type of response I will be giving that aligns with prompt number 1 of option 3, defend a positive thesis. In a way, my paper will serve as an answer to this prompt, but with a unique, positive thesis that will set it apart in the discussion on why future generations or future species matter. In order to elaborate on the structure of my essay, I will first point out that Scheffler's thought experiment has actually been tackled by other thinkers, and thus not so unique on his account of future people mattering. YouTube channel The Infographic Show has depicted an animated scenario of humanity losing the ability to reproduce. In the list of sources provided by the infographic show, though, Scheffler's paper did not appear at all. Like Scheffler, the infographic show depicts the dying of humanity to be slow and depressing instead of catastrophic, with Scheffler's account going into the more psychological responses of humanity, marching to their inevitable demise, and the infographic show depicting more instances of humanity working frantically to solve the unexplained fertility problem as systems die out and fewer people remain living. The infographic show finishes its video showcasing an elderly man fortunate to have lived a full life as the human race was dying out, visiting an old abandoned museum with dinosaur fossils. And the video ends on the note that hopefully human achievement can be looked back on by another future species, and maybe even learn a few lessons. This notion of humanity being unable to give up its prospects of a future, even when it is guaranteed that it will not continue into that future, serves as the first premise for my argument that future species do matter. With so much investment in our development, technology, and knowledge, humanity would not, in my account, simply let itself die out so easily. Regardless of whether or not humanity would succeed in continuing to reproduce, which is guaranteed to fail in Scheffler's thought experiment, the need to put effort into the future matters, and it indicates that we would put that investment elsewhere, whether it means that we are aiming to leave a big enough imprint on the cosmos saying that we indeed existed, or leaving instructions for a next civilized species to pick up where we left off. As another premise to my argument, I will be delving into the tendency for humans to experience and project anthropological bias. Although this bias typically indicates that it is harder for humans to understand perspectives of other species like animals, and that we tend to personify non-human objects or living creatures in a way that is not authentic to those objects or beings, it does indicate that humanity has a tendency to incorporate or absorb those concepts into ourselves. In other words, future species, including aliens, clones, or some other alternative that may not be human, as long as it has enough influence of us, may be viewed as essentially human to serve the purposes of mattering as future generations. The concept of anthropological bias is negative in the context of academia, but in the sense that we will worry about humanity or non-humanity's future, it'll be quite useful. My last premise regards a phenomena that is uniquely human: empathy. Empathy is a social tool used by humans to anticipate and understand the emotional states of others. But it is not limited to human beings between each other. We are able to empathize with animals that experience pain, suffering, happiness, or other emotional states. It is not, therefore, implausible that the reasons of love cited by Scheffler can be extended to non-human, civilized species of the future. Since the way that empathy is experienced is uniquely human, though, it can remain within the human scope of experience, that empathy expands to incorporate future sentient life. Although I spoke about my premises as 3 distinct reasons, I actually have formulated a standard argument with sub-conclusions to illustrate the logic behind my account. Here, I initially assumed the conditions of Scheffler's argument in premise 1, one being, according to Scheffler's Children of Men thought experiment, humans are unable to reproduce. Then, I go and describe my second and third premises. 2, humans exhibit traits of tenacity, or inability to give up worthwhile projects where they have provided a significant amount of investment. 3. Human development over time or progress is an investment that humans would not be able to give up on. From there, I argue my first sub-conclusion that I take from these premises, which is that 4. If human progress cannot be given up on, humans will not be able to accept their own extinction. And you see this derives from 2 and 3, so the parentheses indicates which premises it draws upon, and it's 2, 3. But as we go back to Scheffler's thought experiment and the impending potential end of humanity, I create another sub-conclusion. 5. If human progress cannot be given up on, and they are unable to reproduce, they would find an alternative species to care about as a worthwhile project. Again, since it's a sub-conclusion, it draws from 1 and 4. 6. Humans tend to anthropomorphize or attribute human characteristics to non-human things. 7. Humans are unique in their abilities to empathize even non-human beings or objects. I draw from the last sub-conclusion 8, which is, it is plausible that humans could become emotionally associated to non-human future generations and treat them as essentially human, with essentially human being a definition of future species that I will explore in my paper. There you have premises in which it draws from 6 and 7. Lastly, my conclusion 9 is there are reasons to love and reasons of interest to care about non-human future generations for humans. And that, my class, is my presentation of my paper idea. I hope it'll come to matter to you, as future species should matter to us all.